As scattered as I am, today let's talk about Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of these media outlets or inlets, we might call them, becoming more and more omnivorous concerning our data, what we put on there and sharing it, selling it, just to what extent that gets us to. I know that several times when I put up events on Facebook, they've been taken down if they're outwardly religious. Like, for instance, the event notice for communion. Doesn't make any difference how many times I put it up there. It just keeps disappearing. And there have been other ones as well. And certain times I've seen that remarks have been removed. And going a little farther, people have been removed. I know, for instance, on YouTube, quite a few rabble-rousers have been removed. One question we might ask ourselves is that we're working our knowledge, our data, our conversations, not through an open space, but through a corporation. The big question that has everybody wondering is, what obligation do these corporations have in censoring or otherwise removing or advertising in the spaces that we either get for free or rent? And if this is an open country and there's freedom of speech, wouldn't these corporations be under the protection of freedom of speech? I have a little article here from the South China News, of all places. And I'll just read a couple of paragraphs here, and then I'll turn it over to you. 5 urgent questions for Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Cyber stalkers send unwanted emails, tweets, and text messages or spread rumors online. They easily obtain detailed information about victims, such as home addresses and phone numbers. Just for the month of January, Facebook had to assess nearly 54,000 potential cases of revenge pornography and sextortion, disabling more than 14,000 accounts, and with 33 cases reviewed involving children. When we were at the boot camp for Pentecost, I started getting messages, and this isn't the first time, from somebody portraying themselves as someone else, somebody that I knew. And over the course of the days there, and once I got home, I asked a number of questions to this person to try to ascertain whether it was really this person or not. And what they had was a desire for me to collect $20,000 from supposedly a Social Security loophole. And all I had to do was go to a link, dial a number, talk to a lawyer, so they said. And I thought, well, will my friend be the one to pass something on like this? Well, perhaps, but it seems like another offer too good to be true. So finally, I ascertained that this was not my friend and got a hold of my friend and said, somebody has stolen your identity on Facebook and knows quite a bit about you, because this person was able to answer questions about my friend. And of course, she said no. And I don't think she was that savvy in order to do something like this anyway. And I'll leave it at that for right now. Criminals no longer wait to see if your newspaper delivery has built up on your front doorsteps before they target you for burglary. Today, either they or data brokers scrape information from your social media for lead generation. And back in the days before Facebook, I was doing email marketing, and a lot of it. And that was the most important thing. Hold on a minute. Well, that was to generate leads. And we had machines online that we could purchase for a nominal amount that would target a particular type of sites that you wanted and start collecting emails off those sites. And they would collect and collect and collect. And any links that were on that site, they would go to that link and start collecting until you had 10, 20,000 email addresses that were supposedly people that were interested in the opportunities that you might have, because in the first place, you put the first site in. And this was done all the time then. Now, when you use clients like vertical response, you can't do that anymore. You have to certify that you haven't used some kind of email collector to get these email addresses. Another way they target their future victims is via locational data in files posted online. The silently implanted metadata in photographs, videos, and status updates shared by mobile devices, revealing the date, time, and GPS coordinates where the photos and videos were taken, as well as the serial number of the phone or camera. The metadata is easily accessible by anyone who knows how to download a simple browser plugin to access them. With any one of hundreds of free tools, your photos and videos can be made to appear, allowing anyone to zoom in on the precise location where the picture was taken. Now, as a matter of fact, if you use one of any of the browsers I know of, there is a button someplace that allows you to view the source of the file, which a window pops up, and there is the code in the file. And in that code is embedded the meta information for the pictures, for the author of the page, and anything else they might put in there that you can't see when you're actually looking at the page through a browser. But if you ever have done that, you check the source code, it looks like a lot of gibberish in there. But if you look a little closer, you can find out all kinds of things about the people who are using that site, just as much as they're willing to put in. Even behind every picture, there are back office fields that you can code with locations and anything you really want. They're used primarily for when you mouse over a picture, information can pop up, or they can be used for the location of the picture, and you can't see that unless you go into the source code. This is really a little bit scary. Back to my friend, what I ended up doing, since there's no way to determine who it is that is sending this, the only thing I thought I could do was give them a lecture on identity stealing. And that's what I normally do, because this happens, well, pretty often. I'd say maybe once every couple of months, somebody will come through under the guise of someone else. And I suspect that you also have had your identity stolen on Facebook at one time or the other. You see a friend request from somebody, and you think, oh, that person is already my friend. And then you find out that somebody has actually taken over, not so much the site, but they've started a new site with this person's information in it. Has anybody ever experienced that? Yay? Nay? I'm sure you have. Social media platforms should build awareness regarding security precautions and information disclosure to encourage users to take more care about revealing their personal information in their profiles. Ideally, the platforms would embark on broad-based educational campaigns and governments would do the same. I don't think that would help. I don't think people read that kind of stuff. Ultimately, however, it is incumbent upon social media users to take some basic precautions to protect themselves and take personal cybersecurity more seriously. We are the first and last firewall, for it is us who decide what sites to go to and what links to click on. Maybe you've noticed when you're surfing these days that it's almost ubiquitous to see a warning come up saying this site uses cookies. To continue to use this site, give us permission to download a cookie. A cookie, of course, is a little piece of information where if you go back to that site again, the site can recognize that cookie in there and start you up where you left off last time. But there is insidious information that can be put into these cookies as well. It's good to clean them out once in a while. If you ever had and you surf much, you'll know that often your computer is holding over 1,000, maybe even 5,000 cookies from different places. And this gives these particular sites access to at least the information about their site that's already in their computer. But if there's a sinister person behind this, there could be other information in there, including viruses or software that would automatically turn your camera on or go into your data in your computer and find out what's there and steal it. Facebook and other social media platforms must do their part to make cyberspace a safer environment for users, but we must all change our way of thinking and do our part, for virtual terrorism is everyone's problem. We should know what is ill-advised to do online and acknowledge that virtually anything we write or post in cyberspace may become public at some point in the future. The Cambridge Analytica scandal has made the average person aware of the problem. Well, I've never heard of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. I suppose this goes on to tell us more about that, but undoubtedly it's some kind of theft of data, some kind of a breaking into a data bank somewhere. And Cambridge Analytica sounds to me like a data collecting company. Analytica? What happens from here is up to us. I would solicit any comments now. Have you been potentially scammed? Have you found that some of your friends just are not really your friends? What's happened to you? Two.
Jack?
Yes, sir.
So I've had this happen where something will message me and you start asking it certain questions that a human should be able to answer fairly easily, and you find out it's just a bot.
Mm.
These bots are fairly stupid, at least up to this point they are. And then too, I have had the same thing happen, and a lot of people have, I'm sure, that you'll find someone wants to add you as a friend, but you already have them as a friend.
Yeah.
And who knows what they're up to, or they might start sending you messages. Especially if you don't interact with them too much. The fact that they add you again, they might have just removed you, or something could have happened and you lost them. And then if they start sending you links again, that would be suspicious to say, well, this person never talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's sending me, or he or she's sending me links now that I've added them. There's something up. And also something that's just as bad is where people spread, and these are real people usually, they'll spread things. There's like one about a baby, is it Dakota? I can't remember the last name now.
Mm-hmm.
But an 18-month-old who had an accident, a big accident. They've life flighted him to the hospital, and you find out that actually it's an 18-year-old, and this happened probably 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe longer than that. It just keeps going around. It'll pop up occasionally, and that's clutter, but it's also disinformation because it's not true.
That's come in as a prayer request to us, do you know?
Yes, I think I recall something about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that's an old scam, but it's been around, like you said, several years, and people are still feeling very sorry about that situation and passing it on. I don't know what their idea is other than for sympathy or prayer or something. I don't recall there being any solicitation for money in there. Do you?
No, and there's another tactic that kind of takes place where somebody will send a chain letter, and it'll be, well, if you don't pass it along, you won't get the blessing, or pass this on to 10 people and you'll see something amazing happen in your life. It's very, most of them are pretty innocuous and harmless, but I guess there are some out there that could become more insidious and threaten something more serious if you don't pass it on. But I've not seen that.
Have you seen get messages or links that say pass this on to all your friends?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think all have seen them at one time or another.
I'm hooked up with 1,500 and some people on there. I think if I pass something like this on, this is going to cause major clutter.
Well, that's kind of the point, I think, because a lot of these things they're not important, they're not vital, as we said about the baby that supposedly got the nail gun, your nail shot into his eye or something, and and his father. That's been going around for a long time, and it just causes clutter. There are people who are not very, they're not
Discerning.
very discerning or analytical about these things.
Also, just to kind of take this off in sort of another direction, I know that several individuals who, I don't know if you know his name, Tom Mitchell, Jack. Tom Mitchell got caught up in a situation, two situations. One, where they are using the idea of pornography to take people's face and put it on and use it in that fashion to, he had to get rid of his Facebook account several times and redo it. And we have to be very careful about who we allow to be friends. And I have gotten friend requests from people that I know were on my friends list. And you have to really check yourself. If you see, they got one or two friends and you know that they have more friends than that, do not take that friend request on. Mm-hmm. Even if it's somebody that you contact the individual and you ask them, say, hey, listen, you're already on my friends list, and I have a friend request from you. What's going on? And they may tell you, listen, I had to get rid of my Facebook account because of A, B, and C. If they tell you that, then that's a whole different ball game. But we have a generation of people who feel that their job is to destroy, to steal from other people. They're sitting in their mama's basements and they hack computers, they hack businesses, they hack anything that they can get a hold of to destroy. I talked about that a little bit on this morning about what the name of Balak means. And it's the destroyer. And that's what it seems like with the concerns to this stuff. They're trying to get into your bank account. They're trying to destroy your family. They're trying to destroy your business. They're trying to destroy your life. And these are no good kids, in many cases, that are sitting at home in their mammy's basement, and they're fomenting this type of stuff. And they think this stuff is cute. This also happens through the phone as well. I've gotten a call from Pakistan, and I had one person tell me, do like I tell you and get on the phone and let me know and turn on your computer. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And I will act like I turn on the computer and I'll carry the product. I said, listen, dude, I'm not turning on my computer, and you're nothing but a scam. Get off of my phone. But sadly, there's a lot of people that get caught up in this, believers. Governor and I have a friend that they got her real good. What they get her for, good? $500?
I don't know how much money, 300, 500, but even if it was 10, it's still too much.
They got it. I mean, they got, you know, they took over the person's computer, and you know, some people are so afraid of telling what really happened, and she didn't tell us everything that happened. We figured it out. She pressed a button on her computer. They seized control of the computer. Then they called her, and they told her, well, you need this, this program to get your computer back. And so she's arguing with us. She's telling us, Microsoft did this to me. We're like, Linda, not that Linda, but Linda, Microsoft, they would never cuss you out and scream at you on the phone like that. Yes, they would. I'm like, Linda, they would not.
Every computer that's got Windows on it, at least, has a built-in software that allows you to access somebody's computer remotely. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
And all you have to do is get them to, like you said, push a button and allow it. And then you got access to everything there as long as it's implemented.
Exactly. And they cussed her out bad. And then she thought that a lot of people, because they don't have the discerning or wisdom, she thought, okay, I'll just hang up the phone and that'll be the end of it. You know what they told her? They said, BITCH, are you there? Get back on this phone. Get back on this phone, BITCH. This isn't over. And she got back on that phone, and guess what? It's a spiritual control. And so she's on the phone arguing with these people. Finally, they ended up crashing the computer in the end because she was so, she realized it. And so she called us, you know, and this happens to a lot of older people, where they get them in that situation, and before they know it, they've got $500, $700, $1,000, $15,000, $20,000 out of these people.
Well, I'm wondering now that you mentioned that, I don't know if anybody would admit to this, and we just have a few on here today. How many would admit to be taken by one of these internet scams, besides me?
I've been taken a couple times.
Have you?
I just had some stuff I had to go to the bank and challenge. Somebody had stole, I think, $600 or $700 through Western Union out of my account. And like a debit card of mine, and has an account the other day. But I also had another laptop. Similar scenario. I put it on, and it threw up all these alarms, and I had to call this number. My system had been hacked and shut down. So I called the number, and the guy acted like, you know, like he was with a deal. Anyway, so I let him get on my laptop and check it. But he was wanting this money. So when they do that remote check-in like that, you can also cut them off. So I cut him off and moved back to the laptop. But it was a similar situation. He was wanting to get a bunch of money out of it and fix it. Of course, I told him, no, I'll take it somewhere locally before I do all that. But it happens all the time. Like you say, big corporations. I work for power companies. We had to go through all sorts of training to prevent these hackers that will send these emails, mails, programs, whatever. And all you got to do is click on that link in your email and make action. It'll release a whole host of all kinds of things to your system. You got to internet these companies, and they can just disable a company within a day or so. Very easily. So just give everybody's information. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And there's really no way you can prevent that.
Yes, and it makes me think of, my mother, for instance, been scammed out of hundreds of dollars by people that say that they have one of her grandchildren, or they're the sheriff's department and they're holding someone for bail, somebody that she loves. a relative. And here lately, I started getting invoices from, I tracked it down, PayPal invoices. A guy in Africa is now sending me invoices for money. And yes, I even talked to this guy, and he says, well, we're starving here. We need money, which may or may not be true. However, the idea of sending invoices for something like that, to me, involves a scam. Anybody else been taken? We can't hear you very well, Joshua.
I said the court system is holding my dog.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's the biggest scam of all, the court system.
You got to go pay a lawyer. You got to go do all this and that so you can see your kids.
Divorce court. Yeah, we ought to talk about that next time. Nobody else? Okay, let's go on to another topic here then. Let's talk about Google. A few facts. Google now holds about 67% of the market share in U.S. search engine statistics, searches. The second behind them, of course, is Bing, but Google's 45% higher than them. It receives about 7.2 billion page views per day, 7.2 billion. That's not the same as hits. Page views means that somebody actually looked at a page. So 7.2 billion a day, 87 billion searches per month. About 620 million people visit google.com every day. Well, that wouldn't be so bad, but are they taking over the world? Because Google originates most of its ad dollars from AdWords, and advertisers spend about 38.6 billion, at least last year, up 73% from just a few years ago. To put that in perspective, Google making 38 billion, Facebook is just a mere 6.4 billion in advertising during the same period. And Google has an estimated 144 billion market value, which tops media giants Time Warner, Viacom, CBS, the iconic ad agency Publicis Group, and the New York Times all combined. Now that's power. 70 offices in 40 countries, employing over 52,000 people. Google uses enough electricity every day to power 200,000 homes. Google.com is the #1 website in the world. It also ranked #5 for spending on political lobbyists. And they recently purchased a 1 million square foot commercial space in London, England, which should be ready as a main office, well, by now. It's pretty incredible. It's gone from nothing to becoming the biggest corporation in the entire world. What are the dangers of that? Or are there any? Considering in that they get so many searches every day, the access to information again is the biggest cause for concern. Because with the income that that company has, it can do about anything. I mean, it could do a lot of good. They claim that they want to make internet available free of charge for the entire world, and they're working on that. They're using drones now to deliver goods. I don't really know what else, except that the people who should know and care about this, they do, and they're issuing warnings. I suppose everybody here has a Gmail account now, right? Is it time to quit? Is it time to get off? Well, there's another aspect of this that we probably need to look at from our perspective. And that is that these types of media also have a practical value for evangelism. And that's what we do. In fact, it's probably the greatest evangelism opportunity that ever has come our way. There's an article here, 8 practical ways to use Facebook for evangelism. Use your status updates as a subtle way of identifying yourself with God in front of your friends. Create a group page for your church or ministry. Train your church members to check in on Facebook when they arrive at your church. Regularly create events for your church or ministry. That's what we do. Send friend requests to people you know. But as I said before, if we're going to be censored for these things, and companies like Facebook are not required to accept the freedom of speech that we have in this country, won't this amount to a great deal of censorship? And it already is. Any comments?
I don't know that there are any real viable alternatives. As you said, this is a very great tool for evangelism. And I see there are other things like Governor said, DuckDuckGo or whatever, but who is on that? You kind of have to go where people are.
Yeah. Well, DuckDuckGo, doesn't it use Google?
So it's a search engine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it uses Google. At least they don't advertise it, because that would not be cool if they did. But it works. I don't know about how you would replace Google Gmail. Everybody has a Gmail account, and some people have one. There's Hushmail. Do you think there's one you use, Jack? Proton Mail.
Yes.
There are other options, but Gmail or Google is ubiquitous. It's just everywhere.
I think it's something that we might have to look into, quite frankly, because this is not just the people who are espouse religious views are being censored, but certain political speech is also being censored. If you are not a focus of the left, and you are conservative on Twitter, Google, or on these other things, they are removing your posts there because they realize they lost the last election because of this. And I think that what is happening is the left is overreaching into totalitarian type moves to get their message out there or to win the next election, which is 2020. And so religious organizations, political organizations may need to start looking into developing their own method of social media communication. And right now, Facebook does not have to change because they realize you don't have anywhere to go. Twitter doesn't have to change because you don't have anywhere to go. Okay? YouTube doesn't have to change because right now you don't have anywhere else to go. However, I know that among religious and conservative people, we have smart and intelligent people that can create the avenues for us to continue to do what we do. But we need to take a serious look at it.
Well, there is a couple alternatives. If you have a business or a domain, on certain hosts, you get email for free. You set up email accounts on that. So with ours, we get, I believe it's unlimited email accounts you can have. yaha@eastn.org, and you can have unlimited email accounts on that. If you also like, there's Proton Mail, there's Hush Mail. There are probably other mail services that would allow you to be slightly more anonymous, or that they wouldn't, they wouldn't need all this information, or they'd give you a choice as to how much they store or how much they keep, or, everything would be under your control. And then, of course, there is encryption. One of the best ones, and one of the more interesting ones, is keybase.io. And you can download a client for your phone. You can download one for your computer, and you can network with people, and you have encrypted conversations. You can talk to them. You can send them files. You can do things like that. But I'm not sure how visually simple it is. I don't know about that aspect. But
one thing about Gmail is it does so many things. It's hard to find a free one that is as stable as that and does so much. I mean, what I can do is I can do bulk emails. It used to be unlimited. Now they've got it down to 500. And now my emails, though, they have marked as spam. So I can't use the Google account anymore for mailing our people, because it all goes to their spam account, or it comes back with a warning on it. So I have to go to a different client to do that, which is a hassle for me. But also you can download your contacts. You can upload them someplace else. And I've been seriously considering getting off of there and going to another client. And I'm looking for one. Of course, like I'm on Proton Mail, it is not near as robust, though I pay for it a little bit. But that is a possibility. Tutanota is another one. One thing that is suggested is renting yourself a private network, a virtual private network. And last time I checked, you could get a virtual private network account for anywhere between $6 and about $15 a month, which what that does is, instead of routing directly to your ISP, it routes it through a virtual private server someplace else in an anonymous location, where they can't really tell, nobody can tell where the signal is coming from. And every time you do, if it's working right, it will route you through a different virtual private network. So that might be one thing we can do about email. But still, what concerns me is, again, the censoring. Google Mail having stopped that capacity for me has really hindered me. So that's one of the reasons, if I have to go somewhere else to do bulk mails, it's going to be the same thing, unless we go through a company that actually issues bulk mail. And if you didn't know it, we have such a company that offers us free 10,000 a month, and that's verticalresponse.com, and that's what I've been using. Now, with the time left, let me go to another subject. How about quitting? I think everybody's considered quitting at one time or the other, especially if you become addicted to it. There's some suggestions for this. One is to say goodbye with a final post. Tell people why you were disappearing. And instead of that, start embracing the moment. Like, I work all day on this computer, and I have these Gmail, Facebook, etc. on all the time, though I've really limited my use of Facebook because of this very fact. I know in the early 90s, I got addicted to computer games, or one game, for about a year. And when I decided to quit that, I had withdrawal. It was hard to start embracing the present moment because I had been so used to sitting there. It was an addiction. That's the third suggestion. Prepare yourself for withdrawal symptoms. Little bit. Despite their compelling reasons for going cold turkey on social media, both Will and Gordon, these are examples earlier on, except that it's not necessarily an easy process to do so. Will describes how social media sites purposely make it difficult for users to deactivate completely and describes the withdrawal process as a bit like exercising a demon. It doesn't want to leave, and it takes a lot of willpower. For Gordon, it's more akin to giving up smoking. You're worried about how you'll cope, but it ultimately doesn't change you as a person. It felt like a big moment when I pressed delete, but half an hour later, my life was still exactly the same. Another person says that they agree with these drawbacks, but this one's firm in her belief that the benefits are worth the costs. I knew before quitting that I would miss out on events, but decided it was worth it. I remember 2 or 3 weeks after quitting Instagram, I was beginning to question my decision, and I asked my sister to show me her Instagram when I saw several friends out having breakfast together. I'd been having a lovely morning, but suddenly felt incredibly sad that I wasn't there. Then I realized, had I not looked, I wouldn't have known or felt like I was missing out. And that made me realize it was the right decision. And then there are health benefits. Because there's a psychological impact and a health impact of excessive social media usage. And a quote, people I've spoken to say they don't like it, but do it anyway. It's an addiction like any other. It hacks the mind's reward circuitry and feeds you dopamine. Boredom is supposedly very important for creativity and health, and it runs counter to those. And then there's a little more on this about rewarding yourself for quitting, but I'm thinking of it in the perspective of evangelism. What could we go to? Like you said, Daniel, this is where the people are. But maybe what we need to do is start counting the cost of this. You have worked so hard for a number of years, and you've only gotten so far with it. Is it worth it? Is it worth all the work? Maybe it's not. But maybe it is a calling and a ministry. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, where would you be without it? I mean, if you did not have some sort of electronic way to reach people, who would you be talking to? Your neighbor who does not give a crap? I mean, you've got to reach people where they are. And if the price is, yes, you get censored, yes, you get spied on, you get censored and spied on just having a bank account.
Actually, you know, another kind of alternative to that is, if you were not doing that, would you be more inclined to focus on local community? Would you then be forced to deal with the your local community?
Well, I think that depends on your temperament. If you're an introvert, social media is awesome. If you're an extrovert, it doesn't matter because you're going to go out with around people anyway.
Right. I think that I think that even still, if you're looking at evangelism, and if you're wondering why so many of our local places are sparse, maybe this could be Yahweh saying, listen, it's time to start ministering at home.
Yes, It's an opportunity, definitely, especially as Allison said, for extroverts. But I was just thinking, you made me think, what did I do instead? And I would spend hours alone reading. And most people would probably spend the time watching television, right? Not that those are bad things. It's just that we have so much time to burn in this society. Even those that have to work hard have time to burn, unlike in previous societies, any of them up until this time. We have time. What are we going to do with the time?
Exactly. Sorry.
Go on.
I was thinking that when they were speaking a little earlier, if I didn't look on Facebook, I wouldn't be aware of all these causes that I'm involved in and support. Because I'd be reading a book. I'd be sitting here reading a book trying to learn something new, but I wouldn't be involved with people and causes. And that, I think, is more important sometimes than just one person learning a little bit more about something that really isn't all that important in the overall scheme of the world. You know, it's an outreach thing for me.
Yes, and I'm thinking too, if you got nothing to lose, what have you got to lose besides your own mind? Besides being addicted, what do you got to lose? If you've got something to lose, it seems like those that have are certainly more interested in the nature of privacy than down and outers like us. What do you think?
Exactly. They've already got all our info anyway. Most of us who are online in the circles that I go in are fairly powerless compared to these celebrities and politicians and corporate types. We're just, Joe Grunt. They've already got us. What is there else for us to lose? We don't have much of a voice. If this is our only voice, then take it.
Well, there is two things that I would say. First, there was somebody said at a public meeting, you control these things. You don't let them control you. You should be able to have as many computers as you want, as many social networks as you want, as many phones as you want, if you can buy them, if you can handle it. But you control them. They should not control you first. And second, yes, we are, they have all of our information. And if they wanted to come get us, they would, and not much would stop them. Talking, I guess they being the government or
whoever else, exactly,
or whatever, the Illuminati, whatever. If they wanted to stop you or come get you or kill you or pick you up in the black van or the panel van or whatever, there would be nothing, absolutely nothing that you could probably do about it. It's barring Yahweh and the angelic. There's not much you're going to do about it. So,
right.
Also, I think that social media has a tendency, for the conspiracy minded, to lean on social media for a lot of that stuff. And I think it really hinders a lot of very good people, and it keeps them from doing things at home, locally, or wherever else, because they're so attuned to getting on the website and finding out what the next conspiracy theory is, or the next, and it really hurts them. And I think that, like you said, for the introverted, they're less likely to do things locally, because that would involve going out there, finding somebody, and getting involved with the cause. There's a lot of causes that have local roots. And, I'm one of those people that believes that ministry begins at home. And you could say, once you start at home, and then of course you'll end up out there, but it does begin at home, in your local community, in your local neighborhood. So, there's a two-edged sword here.
Mm-hmm.
You can get off of social media with the understanding that you're going to have something to replace it, or you can stay on social media understanding that while it is a lot of information, all information is not good. You know.
Excellent comments. Excellent. Yes, look, for instance, at what we're doing right now. We're friends. How else could we get together?
New messages received from 46339.
When we live so far apart? We couldn't do this otherwise. This is like almost a dream come true in a way. Something that was promised by futurists and pundits for a long, long time. There's a real good novel about this written 50 years ago. Kurt Vonnegut. It's called Player Piano. Just a short novel, but it's about the government being taken over by oligarchy. That is, a few very big businesses. And to tell you the truth, with the exception of some of the futuristic things that Vonnegut just didn't know about, it's very much like today's society. It's taken over by some huge corporations with lots of money that can buy anything they want, including politicians. And that's what we're living in right now. But what you said is true, Governor, that it's up to us to direct our own free will in the ways that are decent, helpful, and self-fulfilling. And I think, at least of the people that I quoted today, it seems to me that they have no other input but who they're going to go to breakfast with, or what's my friend doing, or how's my sister across town today? Let me check in and see. It's different for us. We have a purpose here that goes beyond that. Seems like we ought to take advantage of it while we can. Maybe it's not time to get out yet, huh? All right, with that, let's call it quits for today.
Jackson,
Yeah,
how about we do this? The same way we looked at Zoom, we were on Skype and then we went to something else and we settled on Zoom. How about a few of us use a beta test for another chat like this here that's more secure perhaps, that doesn't have the algorithms that Facebook has, that we can feel more freer. I made a suggestion. We have VPNs and we do Proton Mail slowly. You slowly move your contacts and your communication over to Proton Mail, forward all your Gmail over to Proton, and then finally leave Gmail altogether. But use a beta test with another platform that we use and see how we can function over there, which the best one is.
well, we've got like MeWe, or WeMe, something like that. We could go over there and try it for a while. And as for Zoom, Zoom right now is 1918 anyway, the best of these clients, meeting clients that there is. I don't think there's a privacy problem with this yet, but yeah, a fallback position is always good. Great idea.
And just teach people with the Proton Mail that you're part of. You're part of Proton Mail right now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's very good, very private.
So I had a Hushmail account several years back, and I paid, a fair amount for it. But they ended up, selling all my emails to the government. And
Great.
So, yeah, I'm kind of leery of all. And I have a Proton email also, but I'm kind of curious. I know it's encrypted, but I'm kind of curious really as to how secure that really is.
Well, you put in the encryption code anytime you want to, or you can leave it the same. So it's like a second password.
On YouTube, there's a controversy on how secure Proton Mail is that I've listened to. So people varies on how good the algorithms is as far as encryption.
Okay.
I almost wonder if a VPN wouldn't be the most secure, if that was even secure.
I'm going to look into prices on those. I know my server there, I use GoDaddy mostly. They have that available. I can't remember what the cost was, but it wasn't much.
It's like $2-3 a month.
Okay. All
on
right.
most of them.
Let's continue this on next week. Our time is up now. I appreciate the input. I think this has been a real good session. So,
All right. Here we come too, Jays.
all right, here we come. Shabbat shalom, the rest of you, and enjoy your day. Thank you for coming.